Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Expanded Understanding, episode 96. If you're heading over, you came over here rather from Frank's show, thanks for choosing to stop by. Please make sure to like and subscribe and click the bell for notifications, and check the description below for all of our social media links and a bunch of cool places where you can meet a bunch of cool other individuals and hopefully have a better time in your life.
Yeah, what's Zach said?
Hello, Aaron. How are you doing tonight?
How are you?
I'm actually really good because I had my internet connection installed, right? And so it wasn't working as
Please
intended.
elaborate. Not enough speed, or it just wasn't working at all?
So it just wasn't.
Yeah.
It just wasn't the speed that it was supposed to be, you know. So nevertheless, I had called them and already scheduled a tech to come out here, and then I also realized that my cabling wasn't actually good enough for that speed, anyways. So I wasn't actually being limited by that yet, given how slow it was running. But so I ordered a new cable, and that got here today. But an hour before it got here, I suddenly got a text message from Spectrum, the provider, that said that your service had been reinstated, as though it had been canceled or something like that. And nevertheless, I installed the other cable and went and speed tested, and everything is right as rain now. So now I have an immensely fast internet connection. And for a person who basically is as big of a nerd as me, that,
No doubt.
that's your whole life. That's the only thing that matters to me is how fast my internet connection is at a location. It's my only stipulation.
So I have an internet-related question, or an internet speed-related question. But to acknowledge everyone in the group, we got Willow and really, and Kevin and Brittany, and Brittany made the comment. She had to catch up. She was late watching me fall asleep last night on air. So there, Kevin, you were upset because I got that still image, that screenshot with you. You see the quote I did from the show last night of you and the still image from the show, and Kevin's like he's thoroughly approving. He's like, in the still image.
Yeah, but it wasn't the greatest freeze frame.
Yeah.
I think was the thing.
And he's mad. He's like, what about that part?
Yeah. It's kind of funny to think about like that. No matter how beautiful of a person you are, if you live stream enough on the internet, there's definitely going to be a picture that shows up of you somewhere being like, just because it was literally someone happened to pause it in the middle of you making some drastic reaction. So I figured out a trick for trying to find
screenshots in a YouTube video. So for Willow or anybody that is looking for these in shows or anything else, if you pause it anywhere in the show at whatever quality you're running at, 720 or the highest one we stream on here, and then just skip through, double click left or right every 10 seconds, but it keeps it on a still image. It doesn't immediately start playing it again. So you can just pop through 10 seconds at a time until you find a still image that fits. And then the odds are you're going to find, instead of trying to find one that looks good and then pause or rewind and try to find that one spot, odds are 10-second jumps, you're going to find one that works well enough and just be able to move forward with it. Piece of advice. But I also have so your internet-related question. You said you're upgrading the cable speed. Are you talking about the Cat 5e should go up to 1,000 megabits, right?
I had just a really long Cat 5 cable that I've been using for the longest time, and so it was standard Cat 5. Yeah,
what'd that jump it up? Since you have the before and after, what'd that jump it up to?
Well, it wasn't really because I wasn't being limited by cable speed yet, but they did this fucking reinstated my service or whatever the fuck that means. I don't even know why that happened, but nevertheless, that was really what created the shift. You know what I mean? So I'm actually running 1 gig down now. So that's fucking retarded. Totally retarded.
So what'd you download? Didn't you download a huge 250 gig file or something? How long did it take? Did you done that yet?
I didn't pay attention to how long it took because I was really just
2 seconds.
Laughing about the download speed. Well, no, because it's still enormous. You know what I mean? It's enormous. I only had to patch it. It was 84 gigs or something like that. But I was, their server actually couldn't push to me as fast as I could download, and this is BattleNet. They're fucking huge, and they're right here in LA as well. So I mean, they just they would need a lot of upload to push that.
Issue. I haven't even thought about being an issue. They can push out the level of the speeds they're offering for download now.
If you have a really top tier internet connection at any given time, then you will run into that situation basically, because upload doesn't scale as fast as download scales. Really, it's kind of the thing. to put it very simply.
Isn't
So
the way they allocate bandwidth? So if there's 10 lanes on a Ethernet cord, that they allocate like 8 of them to download and 2 to upload, and that's why it's so much smaller. There's less.
well, on like the user end, I'm saying more on like the more large scale infrastructure of the
Oh,
internet.
I gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
Like uploading data is more taxing on a system than downloading data, and as a byproduct of that, like, you know, people probably are going to be able to download more than a server can upload. Plus, it's also servicing many people at the same time.
Right,
So even
yeah,
if they
yeah.
have completely like synchronous lines, or they're even like tuned towards more upload because of exactly what you're saying, there's still the multiple, like, and when we're saying multiple, we're talking thousands of users simultaneously trying to download something. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have an enormous connection in order to do that. But you know, they do. So
Is that
you do this
server
with like
farms?
multiple data centers.
Yeah, the data
Uh,
center. Was that server farms that allows that bandwidth? Simultaneous
Yeah,
bandwidth
effectively. I
access?
mean, like, when you're operating at like that scale, you're working with like a telecom company to specifically run a line in for you. You know what I mean? And depending on the size of that line, it's literally like a cables thing. You know, fiber might be different. I don't know a lot about fiber and its deployment, especially on in these capacities. But nevertheless, it's hard to service a fucking ton of users at the end of the day. So,
Makes sense. Run into infrastructure issues. I heard South Korea, last time I looked into it or whatever, I think it was South Korea, that's part of their natural infrastructure. I think they pay like $10 a month and they get a gig download. They've had that for like 10 years, so it's been really common.
I've heard that they have incredibly fast internet speeds for very, very cheap.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never been to Korea, and I don't really talk to any Korean people.
I know. I don't either. It's just
So-
one of those things I've heard.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's fucking sensible for sure. Like, I think that the internet is probably the greatest thing that will possibly be developed inside of our lifetime, because I think it's actually like the greatest thing that's been developed in like many, many lifetimes. So,
What, the
it's-
internet?
yeah, it's incredibly beneficial and has completely revolutionized the way that the world works. So, there's not going to be a lot of other things that do that, really.
What do you think the next thing would be? Like maybe teleportation? Because that would totally change the infrastructure and interconnectedness of society to be actually teleport locations instantaneous, especially if it's commercial. It's like everyone has in their home instead of a car in a garage. Like you also have a teleportation unit. That seems like that
Yeah,
would change
I
things.
mean, teleport. I don't know whether that's the next one. That would definitely be revolutionary to the way that we do life. Period. Just like on an animal level, right? Like,
Yeah.
all animals have to take into account in some capacity the effort needed for and the safety of any kind of like travel. So, not that you don't have to take safety into account with teleportation. You probably do. We don't right now because we don't know how to do it, but you probably need to take some kind of safety into account, wouldn't you think?
Did you get into? See, Brain said Neuralink is next, emerging with the AI. I
That's
think
Go ahead. That's very interesting for sure. I mean, I think like that will definitely change. Right now, though, like, I mean, and Elon Musk, I can already tell you what his argument would be to exactly what I'm going to say right now. But even right now, like, if you're a power user and you understand how to go through the kind of information that you need to go through and use the things that you need to use, you already have like a steep advantage over other people that operate in the same domain, which is nearly everyone now. Elon Musk's counter to this would be that as it currently stands, we're limited by our input method, which is like our fingers, right? Or we're typing, or we're doing this, or we're using a mouse. And so our input method is gonna be slower than what we would be able to do if we could just immediately like transmit a thought.
Yeah.
And so I do think that would be like, I mean, more effective for sure. When you're talking about things on that scale, you really got to think about like, what are the fucking implications of deploying something like that? You know what I mean? Is the world actually ready for it? I don't think the world is really ready for the internet.
Someone said, Kevin said, someone mentioned me teleportation. Yeah, 'cause we've been trying to figure out the portal. Is that what you're talking about, Kevin?
Does my sound all right to you? Jen was like saying something.
Yeah, I was getting choppy for a second. I was just seeing if it passed. I don't know what it was. It's kind of a weird, wobbly, choppy thing, but went away, I think.
Yeah, I restarted my audio drivers real quick, so if there was a problem, it's hopefully gone now.
Fancy. Start your drivers real quick. I don't even know where I'd start on that. Like, I gotta shut everything down, reboot the computer. When in
You
doubt,
do not.
restart the computer.
If you're using like virtual cables and shit, if you're using the right shit, then you can literally just do it very easily. So
Awesome. Kevin said, Kevin said, just got choppy. I thought it was me. Yeah, Kevin was trying to teleport in. That's why. I believe it, Kev. Figure that shit out, man. You're welcome to show up behind my right here, next to me, anytime. I got a spot for you. I got a second mic too. So Zach, anytime, just pop in. They don't have to come in through StreamYard. Come in sitting right here. Hey, and I'm waiting for those days, man. I think that's real.
I think we're a long way off from human body teleportation, or really any kind of like macroscopic organism.
I think at a technical level or like a technology level, I do think that's a lot closer achievable, and I think happens all over the world right now, just through conscious connection and telepathy and whatever. I've heard
On metaphysical
a lot.
levels.
Yeah,
But
metaphysical.
physical teleportation, I mean,
Is that
that might
interesting?
be a
Like,
whole different
look,
subject.
like a divide of society coming up in the next 20, 30 years, whatever, as a bit major cultural shift. We're having not necessarily two species, but like two massive thought groups that split the planet, if you will, of those achieving those and actually having provable, repeatable results of teleportation or metaphysical interconnection or metaphysical advanced physics, if you will, but they're not repeatable in tech, or they start to be repeatable in tech. And those who are achieving those things through tech versus those who are achieving those things through more natural means. But I mean, there's always some spectrum of intermixing with tech. It's not like you have to be on the far end of the spectrum of like Amish, or tech. But I don't know. Like it's an interesting divide
You
even
can
now.
only be two things: your tech rules your life, or you're Amish. These are
Yeah,
your choices.
that's it.
Choose
Those are your
wisely.
options. This is the end of the spectrum, man. Got to fit inside there somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of places where there is a legitimate separation inside of our society. Not just like, I mean, even inside of people who are okay with using tech, they would consider themselves modernized. There's still a massive gulf in user capability that
You know,
changes how they interface with tech.
You know how who interfaces with tech super awesomely is Robert Hawley, and Higher Frequencies. He was doing so checks out. So before Frank's show, I got a pop up notification on my Frank Facebook that he was doing a live. So I tuned in, and then I got a message from Frank. I got an audio clip back from him. So I was listening. I pulled that up on the chat head while I'm listening to um, Robert in my headphones, and he just does awesome like meditations, flow. I don't even know how to describe it. They're great. It's excellent. He gets a mic, gets some music going, whatever setting, whatever's going on. It's just led and in the moment and just awesome. It's always awesome. And so I'm listening to that and I play Frank's thing and he's talking and I'm also listening. It didn't cut the other one off. So it's layered. So Frank was talking to me, he was excited about something. And it was like layering with the music behind it. And then I ended up doing a message back audio and it didn't cut it out again. So I was like, so Robert, I was having this like semi conversation with Frank while listening to your thing on these audio clips. It was just pretty cool. Just thought I'd plug that.
Yeah, there's so much cool shit to do with tech, man. It's like you can spend your whole life fucking doing it. And
There's so many
nothing else.
nuanced ways to go with tech too, especially nowadays. I mean, the nuance in everything, nuance in games, the nuance in like shit, man, everything.
Dude, there's guys that have played World of Warcraft for fucking 15 years and they still play it every goddamn day.
Yeah,
You know
no
what I mean?
shit. Is it okay in your experience with World of Warcraft specifically? Because I don't have like any. I think I got out before, or I didn't never got down that direction too far. I've got my RPGs I love and stuff, and what's it called open world, whatever the name is for it, open world gaming or some shit. But have they really kept up with the updates and stuff in the game that someone can still? I mean, obviously people do. Can you see yourself still being interested? Like they have enough new dynamics in the game. It's still 15 years later. It's still interesting. You're not bored or want to spend more time doing other
Not me, but
games.
these people are out there. For sure.
How do you find? But the game changes. It must change enough that they remain interested. It can't just be the same thing over and over, and they just get slightly
Depends on
farther and farther up
what
the
level
leaderboard.
you look at it. You know, I mean, it's all about like accomplishing things for the character. It's not so much about a leaderboard per se.
But okay,
Not
let
that
me
there
ask you
aren't
this then.
leaderboard dynamics inside of it.
What dynamics for you cause you to change games? Like when you what is it typically in certain games or RPG games, I guess, when you feel like you've achieved enough and you're just over it, you're ready to move on or shift?
It's really just like a boredom thing.
Yeah, but like what is it? What it gets saturated? It's no longer a puzzle, it's no longer interesting. It's like you hit a plateau of being good enough or ranked high enough or just what are the factors
When I
that lead
feel
to being
like the
bored?
character is like basically done, I
Hmm.
definitely start having a problem. Like, there becomes a question of like, am I gonna keep playing this like, doing the super high top end thing where I'm looking to like very precisely min max all of my equipment and this kind of shit,
Hmm.
or am I just gonna like go put my time into something else? And that's not really like the game's fault. In a certain way, it's like a line where you're kind of, if you're only gonna play that character and you don't care about like other people or helping other people out or whatever, then like you're kind of like done there. World of Warcraft adds extra like distance, and a lot of games do, with basically like player versus player systems. Player versus player systems are very much so something that you can do like infinitely. Yeah. I've been
Player
much
versus
more
playing.
intrigued by player versus player dynamics in my life than really other stuff.
Wait, how's that
So,
different than WoW? Isn't that also player versus player? You mean single player versus
player
group
versus player
performance?
means like you are actually fighting against another player.
Oh, it's like
Inside of WoW,
COD
you're
and
fighting
stuff.
against monsters most of the time. They do have player versus player dynamics, but predominantly in WoW, you're fighting against monsters.
Oh,
That monsters that are just they're programmed characters, entities, whatever, you know.
do they ever do like COD competitions or and we've talked about that before, the massive like sporting events or whatever for games, but they ever do them where they run against like teams of AI players or a team of like computer generated teams, like real people against.
This would be like when anybody like competes against raid content or something would be the most that happens. That's the way that people play against computers as far as RPGs go, is like raiding, which raiding just means like monsters that are very hard and you have to bring many people in order to kill them. You know what I
Huh,
mean? So
all right.
multi-group content, there's inside of RPGs there's stuff that you can do alone, there's stuff that you need like a single group to do, and then there's stuff that you need many groups to do. And there's kind of different levels of playing the game, like a character that's
Yeah.
maxed out with everything that you can do solo will generally be much weaker than someone who's maxed out doing all the multi-group stuff, because the multi-group stuff, more work, more people, more rewards, you know what I mean? So, and
Yes.
that's all RPGs are fucking about that. Really, honestly, like if you simplify it down and like, well, I've quit playing a lot of RPGs because of this like simplification alone. At some point in time, usually very late at night, after I've pretty much played that game like all day, I end up like having this thought pass through my mind. It's like, you're just getting items so that you can kill other stronger things to get more items so that you can kill other stronger things. Wash, rinse, repeat, right?
Yep.
And like, if I let myself sit on that thought and like lean into my rationality, then it becomes like irrational to spend time playing the game at that
Yeah.
point in time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But games aren't supposed to be like played for a reason other than fun.
Isn't that yeah, yeah, isn't that funny though? Okay, so I think that's part of the nuance I was trying to parse there because I was trying to figure it out for myself too. And I think the way you just said it there last, it's like at some point it shifts from you're excited about finding these new items because it's not that simple. Like there's ways you can combine items and gems to make it different items or expanded items or upgraded items. I mean, there's whole systems within collecting items and things that and nuance and strategy. Like there's just a lot there. So it's not quite that simple. That's why it's fun. That's why it's intriguing. That's why it's exciting, making these combinations, finding these things, achieving these things, whatever. But then eventually it gets to a place like you said, it's not about cool looking for this item and this gem or this thing. It becomes, oh, I'm just looking for another item so I can upgrade to fight another monster so I can get another item. Like eventually
Yeah.
shifts. There's something that just shifts
Yeah, and
for
once you've
whatever
like
reason.
played enough RPGs, sometimes that shift happens like 30 seconds into playing it.
No doubt, man. You see the way they're structuring the items and stuff. Like, nope, I'm over it. Not that fun.
A
You
lot
guys
of
screwed
this
up
in modern day, this happens more than it used to, because really like,
because people push apps so fast in games.
well, more because the fucking stories are pretty half-ass.
Yeah.
Really, they're
Well,
not
that
like
too.
that great. They're not that engaging. The characters aren't that well developed, you know.
That's
So
that.
and
Yeah.
most people just like don't even fucking pay attention to it. They just click through it as fast as possible to get the experience or the item reward. So
Weird. Isn't that weird? Because that's something I feel like it was really lost. Like when the Assassin, I mean, I feel like a good, more modern one, but really older games too. But like the storyline in Assassin's Creed was awesome. like the way they did. They switched between being in and out of the Animus and between the things he learned. And I think if I remember right, I mean, I think that was before. I mean, I played that game what early 2000, Assassin's Creed 2, I think, early 2011, 12, something like that. And that was probably before my major like truther wake up days or whatever before that really started. And like seeing the way they saw it, they said how the universe was constructed or how time and history was messed up, or that you had this other species that had come in and like had this ancient artifact. I mean, it just came out of nowhere. You didn't expect this in the storyline. This was the backstory of the world, and this is what they're hiding across time. And that was awesome, man. It was really expanding. But the storyline was very dramatic, very drawn in. You're engaged in the storyline. It really matters. Like it makes the games that much more memorable, even if you only played it once or twice. But when they're trying to go for repetitive play or the most mass, they seem to cut the storyline to perk up the other aspects that ultimately take away everything from the overall value of the game or the fun
Well,
experience of it.
when you're talking about like massively multiplayer online role-playing games, the expected replayability far exceeds the expected replayability of a single-player RPG.
Yeah.
Single-player RPG, if you get 50 hours out of it, it was like, oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's pretty fair. Whereas, like, realize, like, there's people who have 1,500 days played on one character in World of Warcraft.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Not 50 hours. Like, 50 hours is 2 fucking days played.
Yeah.
2. They have 1,498 more days of their life dedicated to that game, right? Like,
Yeah.
so they're not really even the same thing. A single player RPG is required to actually have a better story because that's the only fucking reason to play it.
Yeah. No
There's
doubt.
no other reason to play it. World of Warcraft, you could play it simply because you like PvP. And
What's
so,
PvP?
player versus player.
Oh, doubt. Okay.
And so you only do the player versus player content inside of the game. And really, like, the leveling up to max level was kind of just like something you needed to take care of so that you could PvP player versus player against other max level people. Because that's like where the really, the real competition is happening. So it was really just a formality. You don't give a fuck about the story. You're not even playing the game for the story at all. You're playing the game to kill other people who play the game. Right?
Yeah.
That's the whole reason that you're playing it. And, if you're talking like any kind of competitive aspects in RPGs, it almost always is these kinds of things, like player versus player competition. Like, people race to like world first to clear some fucking raid content or whatever, but that's like, that's really like a sponsor marketing money making event basically. Like, it's not really a competition. They're not like, they're going like, oh, the race to world first or whatever, but like, they're all gonna finish out the race, guaranteed. It's not like they're gonna, it's like quit. And there's often, I mean, up until very recent times, there wasn't even any kind of prize for these races. Like, there was no award for the winner. It's not even really a race. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your placing doesn't actually fucking matter, except for like bragging rights, basically.
Yeah.
So.
There's
And these fucking people cheat, by the way, also all the time in World of Warcraft specifically. It just recently came out that the guys who had been getting world first for the last several expansions have been spending tons of real life money buying fucking gold to buy in-game items in order to expedite that progression. And when I say tons of in-game gold, I'm talking like tens of thousands of dollars of in-game gold that they're utilizing to progress their guild. Like, why wouldn't they be, right?
Yeah.
They're best in the world, okay? That means they're doing fucking everything that you can possibly do to get ahead, That's...
There's a new series. I think it was just maybe released. I mean, I may miss it. It's 2020, so it's definitely this year, but it might have been really recent. But it's on Netflix called High Score, and it goes through like of the video games. So first episode, and they're 50-minute episodes. So Boom and Bust, Space Invaders, and Pac-Man lead an arcade craze, while Atari's cartridge system dominates home gaming until a high-profile failure sparks a downfall. Comeback Kid, a Japanese playing card company called Nintendo, enters gaming and hits it big with Donkey Kong, then later takes over home gaming with NES, and so on and so on. But I think it gets into, I mean, even the RPGs and stuff too. They've done these before, these docu-series, and so I haven't watched any of them. I don't know how good it's going to be, but sometimes they're really good. There's a lot of really interesting shit on there.
Yeah. I've fucking basically lived through the entirety of gaming history. So it's like, I feel like literally it's my memory of my life is a fucking docu-series on the whole of gaming. probably not gonna watch it on Netflix personally.
Guess we'll have to
Very
make one. We'll
interesting.
make
I
community built documentary on your life and your
I
gaming
think I could
experience.
actually make a more interesting documentary on video games than probably anybody else, because
Awesome.
there's a whole lot of philosophical aspects that can be drawn into video games. I actually just spent like, well, carrying over from last night into this morning. So part of the reason why it's cool to like have close relationships with other people is that like you can end up like going down these basically these pathways of like taking them through a memory from your childhood if you go about it in like a tactful way. And
Hmm.
so like I kind of randomly just talking about streaming and that kind of whole idea ended up like showing Jen this guy that he goes by Maximilian underscore dude on
Hmm.
Twitch, but like oddly he's not what you would maybe expect from his name. He's not like a young kid or anything. You know, he's like probably, I mean, he's at least like my age. Maybe he's 40. I don't know. You know, he works with a lot of these like Asian companies that make fighting games and
Hmm.
stuff like Final Fantasy. And so nevertheless, like I was talking about him, and then I was like trying to find a clip where he was like really being him and really like shining as much as he shines. And I was like, oh, I know the perfect place for that. Like Final Fantasy VII Remake came out recently, and the one like the stream that he did the day that it released, he's gonna be like fucking psyched through there. So I end up
Hmm.
showing her this, but then this like gets me into like explaining the story of Final Fantasy VII to Jen, how it affected my life, how potentially it's affected everyone's life, and really just all the incredible nuance that was inside of this story. That a lot of it goes above and beyond really anything that we put in terms of symbolism into Western media at
Yeah.
all. I mean, like we have it will be dynamics that Western media maybe approaches with their symbolism, but then it also goes then another layer deeper than that, you know. And so what, for instance, of this is that in Final Fantasy VII, the main protagonist and antagonist, so the villain and the good guy, they basically like, so the villain basically, so like he's standard, like he wants to destroy the world, but
Hmm.
his reasoning for wanting to destroy the world is because the world is being destroyed, right?
Okay.
And he's very mad about that. His response to the fact that the world is being destroyed is that he wants to destroy everything in it, right?
Okay.
And so his motive is in many ways that the world is being destroyed, but like I said, his response is that he wants to destroy it, right? Whereas the hero, he's also has a problem with that the world is being destroyed, but he wants to save the world, or at least he interfaces with a group whose goal that is. Where at the same time, there's also the dynamic going on of this is clearly like the experience of a third party finding themselves through two different experiences of themselves. One that was the antagonist, Sephiroth, who's this format, right? He's the villain, wants to destroy the world, but it's
Hmm.
because the world is so fucked up, basically. And then the hero who wants to save the world, but he's all angry and angsty because the world is so fucked up, and he's revolting against this like the third party corporations. And the overlaying dynamics to actual life are fucking immense inside of this thing. And really
Yeah.
just all around, like if you like stories at all, this is one of the best fucking stories that has ever existed, probably.
That's what I've
Like
heard.
it,
Yeah.
and it's like it's a whole fucking world that goes along with it too. You know what I mean?
Do
Like it's
they
not just the
do
story.
they carry the storyline over well between sequels? Because there's like there's a lot of Final
There's not
Fantasies, right?
sequels of Final Fantasy VII.
Oh,
Final
just the
Fantasy
numbers.
is
Okay, just the number
are
seven. Don't
they're
worry, talking
yeah,
about its
they're
own story.
isolated games.
Gotcha.
Final Fantasy VII itself has had a whole lot of spin-off canon and has been, well, the series that was referenced more than anything else inside of the whole Final Fantasy series. And then they recently did like a remake to it. They had made a movie about it at one point in time that was called Advent Children. It was just like a fully animated film.
Huh.
The crazy thing is like when this film came out 2005, it was like, wow, this animation is fucking next level. But the video game that came out in 2020, the actual gameplay of it looks 10 times better. It's
Yeah.
fucking crazy how far it's come and how much you can see that just through those two things right next to each other. Like
Yeah.
the video game is made in the same art style. The remake is made in the same art style as the animated film, but the animation is just so much better. The lighting is so much better. Like
Awesome.
it's fucking insane how good it
Yeah.
looks, really. And if you have not played a Final Fantasy game, I highly recommend that you do. Really, honestly, like even if you're just looking for something to pass the time, it's a great world. There's plenty to learn about yourself if you're so interested in that through the development and the dynamics of the characters that are included inside of that world and that story.
What
And
could one learn about themselves playing that game?
uh, that you're basically the creator and the fucking destroyer of your own entire reality. That
Hmm.
would be one that comes through inside of that game. But you have to get over yourself in order to do that. Yeah. You have to
Hmm.
basically like give yourself away to yourself. Be who you really are. And that's where you end up finding like your real power and your real ability. Yeah. Your genius or what you really are. There's
Hmm.
also an awful lot to learn about love. This is especially brought through in the Advent Children movie because in there's like a scene where basically like Cloud has kind of like gotten his power back and like he's kind of face to face with the villain Sephiroth. I mean, just the fact that the villain's name is Sephiroth. If you know like anything
Yeah,
about
yeah,
Western esotericism, you should already be like, what the fuck are they
yeah,
using
yeah.
that word for? Very weird. But and there's a lot of that going on, especially if you take the time to translate like what this word means in in Chinese or Japanese,
Hmm.
right? And then
What's it
what
mean?
word we use for that? It's not. I'm not talking about a specific word, so I can't
Oh,
tell you
okay.
what it means. I'm saying
Thought you
like
knew
words
details about Sephiroth.
inside of the game, people's
Yeah.
names and shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, nevertheless, really, there's just so much that you could learn about yourself
Mm.
from this fucking game. Or really just like that. The stories of these people. You can learn anything from a good enough story, really. And this has like a lot of people feel like they're on the hero's journey. A lot of people tuning into this show, I'm sure, feel like they're on a hero's journey. They think they
Mm.
are a star seed, or that they are so much more than a human, or they feel like a huge connectivity to some kind of higher power. These kinds of things. If we really break this down to brass tacks, basically, you think you're a fucking superhero, and
Mm.
there's a lot to learn about yourself inside of that dynamic. You know, there
Yeah.
really, really is. So there's a huge benefit to like understanding yourself as a superhero, and there's a huge benefit to understanding that you are also not a fucking superhero.
Okay, what
Yeah.
what high quality games can you think of that don't use the hero archetype? That the main character is actually a totally different archetype. I guess Grand Theft Auto is the first one that popped in my mind. You're not necessarily the hero. You're the. I mean, I don't know what archetype you'd be in that, but that one would be. You're the
Sure,
center of your own
you can
story.
still overlay the hero's journey onto that though
I
too,
guess so. Yeah, yeah,
in the sense. I mean, it's always like a from the bottom to the top
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of story. I mean, you kind of has to be inside of there in the sense that if you simplify the hero's journey down to protagonist of the story has a goal he wants to accomplish, and he or she goes off about accomplishing that goal, and the climax is the accomplishment of that goal. If that like that's
Mm,
like that's the intriguing story. Like it
yeah.
has to have like a beginning, middle, and the end.
I
And
wonder they should have a game where you play the jester, right? The one who has the king's ear and also kind of like control. So you have to make choices, have conversations, interact in a way that you kind of dictate how the whole kingdom goes. Like you're the kind of one running things behind the scenes based on your conversations, based on your interactions, or the things. I don't know, something like that. And you just to see how the whole civilization plays out based on your.
sure, where you can't make any like direct effects, you can only
Yeah,
manipulate other characters to make
yeah,
effects, basically.
like winning
Yeah,
their trust
that's
over
interesting.
time and certain conversations, and yeah, that'd
Oh,
be
I can.
interesting.
I actually just thought of like there's a lot of games outside in RPGs. It's almost all hero's journey, or at least the hero's
Yeah, yeah,
journey's in there. More often than not, they leverage all of the various different story formats. There's like some love element to it.
yeah. That's
There's
true.
there's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
all of the dynamics. But games like platformers and there's like a murder mystery game that's played by streamers a lot right now called Among Us,
Hmm.
and that's not a hero's journey at all. You know, it's a bunch of people locked in some location, and 2 of the people are fucking murderers. And their goal is to murder all the rest of the people before the rest of the people figure out who's doing the murdering.
That sounds
You know what I mean?
awesome. Sounds super fun, man.
It would be super great to play with the community. I can't tell you
No
from
doubt.
direct experience because I don't have enough friends.
Well, is that a game? I mean, is that a free game we can download, or is that a game?
It's like $5 or something like that.
Yeah, I'd be down to do that. That'd be fun to play, man.
You probably have to have a PC to play it, but it's like dog shit graphics. If you have any type of PC, you could play it.
Yeah. And no, that's not a mobile thing. That's only on PC.
I don't think it's on mobile. They would be smart to make it on mobile, but
No
this
doubt.
game's actually been out for like a couple years, and such as the market is nowadays, like really gaming is so unbelievably powered by streamers. So, yeah, this game released on 2018, and fucking nobody said a word about it until like a month ago,
Huh.
and maybe 2 months ago, and
Yeah,
now
'cause
all
people
of
are
a sudden,
finding
like,
all this stuff during COVID lockdown, finding ways
so
to have
many
community.
fucking views. It's fucking crazy.
Okay, so
like,
yeah, send that link that out. See if we can get that going. That sounds fun. There's a card game that what was it called? It's if you got the aces, so you're in a group, and I think you had to play. It was a deal to play. I mean, the more the better. Up to like I don't think we ever hit a max limit, but anyway, you want at least like 7 or 8 or more because it is a mystery game. But it's you hand out cards face down. You select certain cards, and there's 1 to 2 assassins. There's another word for it. I don't know. I can't. It's totally slipped my mind. But they're the ones who get like the ace cards. They're the assassins. And so there's someone who narrates the whole thing. So it's a town and they create a narration. So everyone in this is town. You can make up a town name. You can be as creative as you want just to be funny and silly. And everyone goes to sleep every night. So when you wake up during the night, so when you go to sleep, the narrator says, okay, so assassin, wake up. So they lift their head and they say, assassin, who do you want to kill? And so they'll point somebody out and they'll kill them and then put them to sleep. And so nobody knows yet. Only the person narrating this knows what's going on. So they can say, go sleep. Then they say, the doctor, wake up. Who do you want to save? They randomly get a pick who they want to save from being killed. So they pick somebody, they go back to sleep. And then there's the sheriff, I think King Card or something. He gets to wake up and who do you want to know about? And you can point at somebody and then the narrator just shakes their head yes or no if that's one of the killers. And everybody goes to sleep. And then they say, then there's like, okay, everyone wake up the next morning and they go into something. So last night, so-and-so, and you can use, like, if you know people too, it's funny, you can recent events and jokes and whatever. So-and-so were hanging out by the river and he fell in and he died, but the doctor happened to bring him back to life. So he's not actually dead. And then so anyone in the groups, you tell a story and anyone in the group can make an accusation thinking someone's the assassin. You have to give some kind of convincing story because you have to have enough people to vote to kill that person or to reveal their card and kill that person. Or to at least find out if it's the assassin or something. Anyway, it goes around and you end up people get killed off and the assassins can win if they can kill everybody off before people have to figure out who they are. So it's super fun, man. We used to do that like growing up with our family, had a bigger family and youth groups and stuff, and I haven't thought about it in a long time.
very similar function to Among Us, only there's not like as many roles. There's crewmen and fucking killers.
Awesome.
But there's all kinds of places where, well, whenever a body's found or people can call like an emergency meeting, it's encouraged that you definitely play it with voice chat with everybody. And I would say it's encouraged that you play it with video chat,
dude,
honestly.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, like if you choose to, you get a chance to defend yourself and other people can make accusations. You can talk about it, basically.
Dude, totally.
And that's really like the funnest part of the game, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't know, maybe for some people they don't want to like game the game, you know what I mean? So they want to fucking just like tell the truth all the time or something. I have seen people on streams that they're just like, I just can't lie, and it's like, why the fuck are you even playing this game?
Yeah.
Man? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Whenever you're the murderer, you need to lie. Like that's how it works.
No doubt.
But nevertheless, like I think what would actually be even another level of interesting to it is to like. When you play it one night, so like I'm not always playing it with Zach and Aaron and player A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? Like I play actually like a character, right? So tonight, my name is Billy Bob, and all the time tonight I'm going to play the game like this, and we're going to shoot you real straight tonight, Aaron. or whatever your character's
Awesome.
name is. So I'm adding an additional layer of like role play and creativity to what you're doing, and then I got to use like Billy Bob's persona in order to try and fucking actually, you know, make cases or defend myself or whatever the case is, and I can play completely different in that space than I would when I played as some other character, as just as my normal self or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's I
It reminds me of The Office, the TV show The Office, and they played
sure.
a similar game, but then they all took on they played these southern roles, and
Uh,
so they're doing a southern drawl, that all the
but
different.
all kinds of characters.
Yeah,
You
totally.
know, like sometime I'd be like an orc. And
Yeah,
so I
man.
would have a really hard time fucking, you know, defending myself because no speak good.
Right.
Me no kill. No!
Yeah. Awesome,
Like,
man. Like,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? And
If you all
if you
playing
really want
roles.
to get into it, you fucking dress up as a fucking orc when you do it too. Like, I don't know. This is how you have fun with life, ladies and gentlemen.
totally.
Back in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
day, like the game didn't fucking, you know, walk you right through the entire game and tell you everything to do to have fun. You actually like had to figure out how to have fun.
Yeah, and it's
So,
actually adding your own personality to it, man. That's why, like, just the in-person dynamics, being able to play games like that. But then also I played poker recently online, and they'd set up, I don't know, some poker room where they were doing that, and everybody logged on there. But then also opened up the WhatsApp video group chat, and so it's because they used to do poker, actually at people's houses, but since COVID, they started doing it online. And doing it
sure.
with the group chat is totally different, man. It's like, I mean, I've sat down at plenty of poker tables with total strangers, or you don't really know most people there, and you get along fine. Like, figure out how to get along with people in person. Trying to like create casual conversation on video chat with people you've never met is just, it's weird because everybody's not quite used to the dynamic either. Everyone's in their own room like we are now, but they're doing other stuff, or they got kids running around, or they're also watching a game or something. Like everybody's in their own little space, and everybody's kind of engaged, but also not sure how much to be engaged, or it's just different, man. It's really different, or at least with
Yeah.
poker in that dynamic. But yeah, figuring out how to do that with like the game you're talking about, that'd be awesome. It'd be a lot of fun.
I'm real fucking used to that shit. I've used the internet like so much. I mean, it's fucking crazy. I mean, like, I've gone through. Well, okay, so Discord is the standard for voice chat now.
Hmm.
Before Discord, it was TeamSpeak. Used that for years. Before TeamSpeak, it was Ventrilo. Used that for years. Before Ventrilo, it was Roger Wilco. Used that for years. Like, I've been through
Never
fucking
even
like
heard of these,
actually
yeah.
5 iterations, because there's one other one because there was like a little Skype period where
Yeah.
just Skype was the most effective. But and arguably TeamSpeak was still better during that time, unless you fucking hated TeamSpeak. But this is a worthless conversation. Nevertheless, the point is that like even in terms of like voice over IP shit, I've gone through fucking 5 different iterations of it,
Yeah.
and I mean,
Is
I've had
that
just
is there
as
a
many
reason?
conversations that
Is that
way
for
as I
like
have in
group?
real life.
Is that for group? Oh, okay, group audio calls. So you're on like a Discord server while you guys are playing a game or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, I mean, and they
I
don't
gotcha.
even have to be group, but you know, I mean, and Ventrilo, TeamSpeak, this stuff, it's like complete servers, right? So you'll have like
Mhm.
rooms for specific stuff, and anybody that's in the room can talk to anybody that's in the room unless the privileges are set up differently or whatever. But
Gotcha.
you know, yeah, a group voice over IP solution, I guess you could call it. But
Yes.
if you've done
Sounds
that
like
a whole bunch, then like, you know, adding a camera into the mix, and I mean, well, to me, it isn't really anything fucking different. Some
Yeah.
people, well, if you have issues with a camera being on you and interacting with other people, then you have like confidence issues that you might want to approach because it's affecting your life in many, many places. Honestly. The same
Yeah.
person that can't just like be on camera and just like be themselves also can't look in the mirror and feel good about themselves, and that's fucking a problem, dude.
Do you think
Like
that's?
in
Do you
your
think
life,
that's
it's a
always
legitimate
true?
problem.
I feel like people
I
can look in the
do.
mirror just fine, but it's just cameras just different, man. It's just weird. It's a electronic eyeball staring at you. Used to people watching you. It's one thing to have a camera hole watching you and knowing there's people on the other side. Like, it's a
I I
psychological thing
I
for some people. But yeah, I don't think.
I don't think there is any fucking difference whatsoever. It's you being you, and outside reality is outside reality. if
Yeah.
you're like right with yourself entirely. It's
Yeah.
just that the outside is the outside and I'm me, and that dynamic doesn't fucking change whether it's a crowd watching me, it's a fucking video camera, 50 video cameras that's live streaming to 1 people or 50,000 people, or it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Like, if you're in the right place with yourself, none of it fucking matters. You just are who you are today, and if people don't like it, don't fucking watch me.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Very
also,
simple.
ultimately, I get it. I'm just saying for people to make that transition, sometimes it is a psychological change. You're not used to watching yourself on camera.
I'm not
either.
saying it isn't, you know, there is a psychological dynamic, but I think
Yeah.
it points towards other things that also have effects in our life.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
I've
I'm
worked with so
with
many
you.
people like business coaching where it's like, all right, well, what you need to do is film videos. They're like, oh, I can't do that. I'm like, no, I don't think you get it. What you need to do is film videos.
Yeah.
The next skill you need to learn for your job is filming fucking videos.
Yeah.
I don't care whether, if you can't do it, you need to learn.
Yeah.
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. No,
And
100%.
That's
Well,
a
that's good.
business situation, you know.
Yeah.
But it's really beneficial for your life, anyways. Like, well, a lot of people feel lonely. There's just tons of people on the internet. I mean, just tons of them. Oh, well, it's not the same on the internet. Man, you don't let it be the same. Some of my best friends are from the internet, and I've never met them. Like, I have
Yeah.
a friend I talk to every single day named Hakeem that lives in Michigan. I've talked to him every single fucking day for like the last, what is it? It's almost like 15 years now.
Wow.
I've never met him in real life. I've known him since he was like, I don't know, like 11 or something like that.
Hold on.
Uh,
I can't think. I'm trying to think of a human being that I talk to every single day for that long of a time. What do you guys talk about? What's the context like that you could talk every day? Just gaming
No,
shit?
don't
Like,
get me
how are you
wrong. There's
connected?
been days where we didn't talk in there, but
Sure,
still,
but in
it
general,
is.
yeah.
You probably haven't had a friend that you talked to this much in your life unless you called her a girlfriend and you lived with her and such. That's the only way that you would
Right,
talk to them now.
yeah.
But it's really actually pretty standard for the internet in a lot of ways. There's been times in my life where I went like years, right? For instance, when I was playing this game called Shadowbane, we had a really tight-knit group, and for like multiple years of playing Shadowbane, and at least for like a year and a half after that, I was in a voice chat server with like the same like 15 dudes every single day of my life. Every single day of my life. We talked all day about whatever the fuck was going on, current events, what they're doing right now, what their life's been like, what we're doing in the game, okay, whatever, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, but like
Interesting.
sometimes if you get tight enough knit groups, then like they go beyond a single game. You guys just
Totally.
like hanging out with each other, and then
Yeah.
there's some other shit that you're interested in. And you're like, hey, you know, you should fucking check this out or whatever, and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, so they're willing to. And so like I started, I don't even know how many games I've played with the guy that I'm referencing right now. I honestly can't even fucking count.
Cool, man.
30 or something like that.
Yeah.
We started out playing an utter dog shit game that was really fun, but like code wise, terrible.
Yeah.
Not supported well. Kind of pay to win. Pretty
Mm-hmm.
terrible. But it was like this soccer game, and it was fun, and I liked playing it. And well, quite honestly, I like trolling people. And he also liked trolling people and liked playing it. And he was
Yep,
good
that
at
makes
trolling
sense.
people, and I liked him. And he ended up on the same team as me at one point in time. And we started talking more and more and more and more. And then, like, just kept on fucking talking. And we still talk now, you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
really,
man.
the point of all this is that, like, you can make friends that are just as good on the internet as you can in real life. It's a question of whether or not you allow yourself to feel connected with the person across that dynamic. Is it the same? No. Okay, it's not. Like, it's not the same, but that doesn't mean that it can't be as valuable of
Yeah,
an
totally.
experience. It's just
Yeah,
not the
totally,
same
totally.
one.
Yeah.
Hanging out with my best guy friend is not the same experience as hanging out with my best girlfriend or my girlfriend, but they can all be valuable experiences. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? And there's a lot of value to it. There's a lot of value to finding a group of people that you hang out with like that, because it's interesting to see these groups work together, how they become so similar to a family a
Yeah.
lot of times. You know, it's I don't know. There's a whole fucking internet community out there, and a lot of people live in places where like they ain't gonna fucking go outside and hang out with some people. There's no fun fucking around.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, it's an interesting dynamic generationally and just culturally. You know, environment that we grow up in, or different, or personality proclivities, and growing up in the age that we have. So people build genuine friendships, people you genuinely care about, that you have genuine heart connection with, the time experiences, I don't know, tests of loyalty, friendship, just whatever shit happens over time through natural dynamics of them, whatever, it's just communicating differently. But I think that creates where some people may be more predisposed to physical touch, physical interaction, but just even that culture, the way they grew up and the way there was a lot of communication, there was a lot of friends, there was a lot of interaction there. So there might be an internet dynamic, but the primary interconnection for, human connections for some people, especially older people, whatever you want to put them in that category on some level, are the in-person interactions. So it's just interesting for different people and being able to understand from both sides of the group how valuable they are to each person, but they're
Yeah.
just as valuable. And I think some people,
I'd
like I
like
said,
to
have a hard
know,
time
and with
understanding that.
what you're saying, that like I am personally of the belief that the things that you're predisposed to doing are probably the things you should avoid doing. You should do other things that are not comfortable and that you're
Mm,
not good at. I think
yeah.
that's better for your life. It gets you to have novel experiences. It keeps life more exciting. It pushes you more. It helps you
Okay, but
be a
do you think,
person that you really appreciate
let's say,
more. All these
someone
things.
prefers internet type of relationships,
Mm-hmm.
that they should push themselves to also have in-person relationships,
Yep.
or and vice versa, I guess.
100%. You should aim, if you want to be having the fullest experience that you can have as a human, you should be having the fullest experiences that you can have. That means that you should have fucking internet girlfriends, internet boyfriends, groups that you hang out with on the internet, guys that you hang out with in real life, girls that you hang out with in real
Mm,
life, groups of people that you hang out with in real life. Like all over the place. There's don't put limits on the fullness of your experience if you want it
mm.
to be as full as possible, because as full as possible ain't got no fucking limits on how full it can be. You know. So
Yeah.
I don't think you should block things off. And when we have predispositions and we continue to lean into them, we do that as a byproduct of like, I'm more comfortable doing this other fucking thing. And we stay inside of that comfort zone. And well, I mean, there's so many fucking quotes that you could leverage right here to add oomph to what I'm saying, of all these great people that have said, like, life begins at the edge of your comfort zone and all these kinds
Yeah.
of things like this. And, if to my personal opinion, if a person doesn't like believe that entirely and like know it inside themselves, they simply have not ever tried it. Because
Mm,
if you actually try and you actually go like, fuck, I'm super like, that's beyond the edge of my comfort zone, but I'm gonna do it just to push myself, there's a fucking motivating force inside of that. It's not like the things that come from inside the comfort zone. And I mean, like, you want it.
yeah.
So the only like it, you got to give it a real shot too. Honestly, like you can't expect that like the first time I ever step outside of my comfort zone, it's gonna be fucking heaven on earth, utopia or whatever.
Yeah.
Like maybe some things won't go perfect, but
I
like
think it's
keep
it's
giving
not so
it some
much like
shots.
the success of stepping outside your comfort zone, it's the willingness to do it. Like the
Sure.
willingness to go against just in that process or that journey, if you will. So going out of your comfort zone, for example, like when I went out of my comfort zone, just in the Christian dynamic, looking at reading the extra biblical text, I mean, I remember it feeling uncomfortable, that I thought I knew enough about them, hearing quotes from them in other places, to feel uncomfortable reading outside of the prescribed dynamic, that I might somehow not understand what I'm seeing or not be smart, wise enough to discern something, or maybe, just it may throw me off or whatever. And when I chose, even as uncomfortable as I was, to see it for myself, right? That I'm, whatever it is, I'm going to see it for myself and I will make a decision. I do have discernment. I do have whatever. I know how to inquire into things and look circumambulatory enough to, I should be able to figure it out. But that uncomfortable dynamic, choosing to overcome that, beginning to read the text, and one, finding tremendous beauty in things inside of them, which encouraged me even more. But it was that journey of then beginning to dive into the uncomfortable thing and learn and grow. It didn't mean like I had to go, to do something crazy or do some, learn to create some massive new habit in my life and push myself beyond my comfort zone that way. I was pushing myself beyond my own belief system comfort zone or my cognitive comfort zone, and then taking that
Yeah, when I
journey.
say this, I'm not saying that you gotta leap off a fucking cliff because you're not comfortable falling through the air. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that at all.
Right,
You can
says if
you
you're
go
gonna
get
try
on
to
a fucking
fly, start from the ground.
trampoline, as whatever. The real point is that like, I get this a lot with people that I work with. I say like they're like, what do I need to do? It's like very vague, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
so you tell them like, well, you need to do this, and they're like, well, I can't do that. And it's like, well, do a fucking microcosm of that. And they're
Mm,
like, well, like what? And you give them an example of something that to you feels like a microcosm of what you were talking about. And they're like, oh, well, I can't do that either. And it's like, okay, well, do a
Right.
microcosm of that. Like what? And it's like, do you see what you're doing here? Like, you're
Yeah.
not fucking stupid, okay? You know what a microcosm of this is. And if you don't, you probably would benefit from taking the time with yourself to abstract what a microcosm of the thing that I'm fucking talking about is. Rather than just getting me to specifically tell you, do exactly this thing. And you keep telling me, well, I can't do that. And it's like, well, yeah, that's why you also are even talking to me, because you can't do something that you want to do. So you need to figure out how to do this. And like, I can't pop into your life and basically like remove literally physically any problem that you have in your life, because like I'd have to remove you from your life. Realistically.
Yeah.
Like, there has never been something in my life that I had difficulty accomplishing that I couldn't find at least 20 ways where I was the problem.
Yeah, no doubt, no.
Not once in my life. And it's very unlikely that the whole of another person's experience was completely something else's fault, if that's the case with me. I mean, it's very unlikely.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think we really, like, Frank was talking about this too. And so, like, I do want to go and eat. So it's good. It makes very logical sense for us to end on this too. You need to take responsibility for yourself. Like, this is what sovereignty is. Sovereignty gets sovereign because it is responsible for some type of area. And inside of that area, it gets to make its own fucking rules. So if you're unwilling to take responsibility for the things that happen inside of you, then you're completely unwilling to have sovereignty. And if that is the case, then you should do the other thing the way that it works best. But don't sit there and fight against yourself. Like, if you want sovereignty, take responsibility. Stand up and fucking do the things that are necessary. Stop saying I can't. Start figuring out how to fucking do it. You know? Successful people don't say I can't. They say that's the thing that I need to figure out how to do. Never, ever, ever fucking say I can't. Ever. It's literally, I mean, me personally, not even a part of my fucking vocabulary. I can't nothing. I can't say I can't. That's the only thing I can't. But it's because, also in that case, because I will not let myself. And that's always why you can't.
It's funny how that can be so reactionary, I think, for some people, whether the way we grew up or mindset, because like Nate, my coworker, there's times we're working on doing a boiler, doing a repair or something, and he's trying a bunch of ways to do something, and I hear him getting frustrated, and I come over, what's going on? And he's showing me, and doing this, and this thing won't go on this way. It's impossible, or I can't do it. It's not possible. I can't, or it can't happen, or whatever. And I'm just like, certain times when he gets really frustrated with something, and it's one of those things I know he doesn't believe, and clearly you can, because we're doing this, and I've done this before. Like, it can happen. So
well, we have to get it done. So.
Yeah, plus we're going to get it done. Like, it's going to happen. And I said, so I'll just calmly then show him or try something out real quick. Sit here, let me do it, or let me see, and then I'll do something. And like then, and he always comes back and just sees, like, he knows he was frustrated, and like clearly we could, and he sees it's just being able to, I don't know, slow down your mindset.
That's usually why we say that. Almost always is because we're frustrated. Usually frustrated with ourselves. You know, like if you've been experiencing some thing that has had negative effects on your life for a prolonged period of time, you're very frustrated and overwhelmed by the fact that it's even continuing to happen. And inside of that space, there's a lot of I can't. You need to like start doing something to get out of that hole, and don't worry about the things that you actually can't do right now. Do the things that you can do. Focus on what you can do. What gets us into a hole is focusing on I can't. So what gets us out of the hole is focusing on I can. And we have to make this choice.
Other stories of people who did, whatever you're struggling with, you can probably Google it, or you find YouTube videos on people who've, there's a million ways to do anything, and there's a lot of things out there. So watch them until you get inspired or intrigued. Not necessarily something they did specifically made you think of something you could do for you that's nuanced to you that you can do or can try. And Yep.
Be good to yourself, and thank you for stopping by over here.
Be good to each other. Bill and Ted 3 coming out soon.
Unfortunately, they're not paying us for that airtime. Damn it.
Nope. I'm happy to promote it.
Anyways, catch us again on Monday at 8 o'clock. We hope that you enjoyed the show tonight. Please like, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notification for to see our other videos. We have multiple other shows on the channel. And check the description below for all of our various social media links. Maybe hop into our Discord if you do play Among Us and you would like to play with us. We will maybe play at some point in time if enough people actually procure it or I find people. I know some people that are willing to play it. So, nevertheless...
Awesome.
Hop in there for that. Hop in there if you just want to have a good time doing other stuff. I do all kinds of weird stuff, so, you know, you never know. But at the end of the day, thanks for stopping by. Maybe stop by again. Love you all. We'll talk to you later.